So all these radical organizations it has been affiliated with, and these often indulge in activities which are
Right.
which are inimical to the national interest, and for such activities you need this sort of devices. Probably that is probably the reason why they are using this
Right.
and they're keeping it with them.
It's a low-range LHR-80 floating handheld VHF, which is used and has a built-in GPS receiver. It is used for nighttime use, and it will work for communication and for navigation. That's what has been recovered. We're going to take a very, very short break. Stay with us.
While he didn't drop any names, it was a message for Ashok Gehlot, who's a frontrunner for the post. Earlier, Gehlot had claimed that he can juggle multiple posts if required, which meant that there would not be an opening for Sachin Pilot in Rajasthan. But after Rahul Gandhi's comment, Gehlot changed his tune.
कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट जो होता है बनता है वो जस्टिफाई भी कर पाता है अगर वो पूरे मुल्क में उसको काम करना है तो दो पोस्ट पे काम हो नहीं सकता है पर इसमें कोई बाहर नहीं है जो कि अभी मीडिया में आ रहा है उसके अंदर ये इलेक्टेड पोस्ट है कोई भी खड़ा हो सकता है इसके अंदर वन मैन वन पोस्ट का फॉर्मूला लागू नहीं होता है परंतु कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट कोई बनता है तो वो दो पोस्ट पे काम नहीं कर सकता.
Apart from Gehlot, the other possible contenders are Shashi Tharoor and Manish Tiwari. Whoever it turns out to be, what's increasingly apparent is that a non-Gandhi will take over the party when the results are announced on the 19th of October. But will it work? After all, it's Rahul Gandhi who's leading Congress's Bharat Jodo Yatra, walking 3,570 kilometers over 12 states, in a yatra which is being seen as a curtain raiser for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. So will the Gandhis actually give up control of the party? Or will a new non-Gandhi party chief be remote controlled?
All right, so will Rahul Gandhi stick to his word and not run to be the next Congress president? What does that mean for India's politics as we go into 2024? Is it going to be Ashok Gehlot versus Shashi Tharoor? And more importantly, will Mr. Gehlot be seen as the unofficial official candidate? And of course, Shashi Tharoor is the G23 candidate. Joining us on the talking point this evening, Shehzad Poonawala here in our studios, BJP spokesperson, Charan Singh Sapra, Congress spokesperson, Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist who's been tracking the Congress for a number of years now. Professor Nalin Mehta is the author of the new book, The New BJP, and Sanjay Jha, formerly with the Congress and now a political analyst. Shehzad Poonawala, I'll start with you first. Whether you like it or not, Mr. Rahul Gandhi today in the press conference says categorically in front of all people, it's been broadcast across the nation, he is not going to run. Will you take him at his face value? Because you guys have been going on and on about dynastic politics, dynastic politics, dynastic politics. He says he's not running.
I take him entirely on his face value because having power without responsibility is the first byword of the Gandhi family. What they did with Manmohan Singh is exactly what Rahul Gandhi is going to do with the next Congress president, and don't buy my word for it. Mr. Chidambaram has gone on to say, whoever will be the president, Rahul will have a preeminent, or maybe I read it as permanent place in the party. This is Mr. Chidambaram's statement. Then you have Mr. Muralidharan come out and say, who is a former president of the Kerala Congress, whoever contests the post of the party president, only a person with the support of the Nehru family would become the president. And how free and fair are these elections? Well, 5 MPs, including Mr. Tharoor, have demanded where's the electoral rolls. So, you know, the entire system has been rigged in such a manner that the only person that can win is actually a Darbari of the Congress first family.
Okay.
And he will be remote controlled by the Congress first family. And even the last election that these people claim was a free and fair one was the Jitendra Prasad election, 24 or even more than 24 years, in 2000. Actually, Mr. Jitendra Prasad, before he passed away, had given an interview in which he said that the match was fixed behind my back. This is what he said about that election. And for the last 24 years, they've had only one family. Whereas you compare it with a party like BJP, we've had 9 presidents who've been elected.
So, Charan Singh Sapra, the contention by the BJP being that whether or not Mr. Gandhi decides to run, whether or not he decides to contest, fact is, if it's Mr. Gehlot will be nothing more than a Darbari controlled by the remote control, which still happens to be with the Gandhi family. Please respond.
See, Zaka, two things. Number one, everybody should appreciate that Shri Rahul Gandhi, whatever he said in 2019, while taking the moral responsibility of the loss in the general elections, he resigned and he said that no person from the Gandhi family will become the president of Congress party. And he's adhering to what he had said at that time. And but today also, everybody has seen his press conference, and you have also judged.
Weeks of unparalleled domination. India's indisputable number one. CNN News 18, on your side.
Now, as far as BJP's spokesperson is concerned, I would like to tell him, when he's talking about a rubber stamp or a darbari, I feel whosoever becomes the Congress president or elected Congress president will be more effective and a good decision maker, better than JP Nadda. Now, he has to decide whether JP Nadda is a darbari or is a rubber stamp of Narendra Modi or RSS or what it is. But definitely, Congress president Srimati Sonia Gandhi and Shri Rahul Gandhi is going to give a free hand to.
Back on, limited time but a quick update. Barelvi Muslims have come out in favor of the government crackdown on PFI. Maulana Shahabuddin Rizvi, National Secretary of the Barelvi Muslims Group, has said PFI is a radical group and that we advise all Muslims to stay away from them.
इंडिया, जिसको पीएफआई कहा जाता है, ये कट्टरपंथी विचारधारा का संगठन है और इसमें जितने लोग भी हैं वो कट्टरपंथी विचारधारा रखते हैं। इसलिए मैं तमाम सुन्नी सूफी बरेलवी मुसलमानों से गुजारिश करूँगा कि वो लोग इस संगठन से कोई ताल्लुक़, कोई संबंध न रखें। इसलिए कि पूरे हिंदुस्तान में बहुत सारे ऐसे खुराफातें हुई, फसाद हुए, उसमें पीएफआई का नाम आया और पीएफआई के विचारधारा के लोग उससे जुड़ते हुए नज़र आए। तो इसलिए ज़रूरी
Good evening, this is Viewpoint. I'm Zaka Jacob. There was widespread violence today in the state of Kerala by PFI activists. This was a day after there was a large-scale arrest of PFI leaders from Kannur and Kasaragod in the north of the state to Thiruvananthapuram in the south. Public transport was targeted, schools and colleges were shut, and business establishments were attacked. And this is despite an explicit Kerala High Court order banning hartals or flash strikes of any form. Why should anyone have to resort to violence to make a political point? Why should there be any tolerance for those who take the law into their own hands? And why should the large majority of moderate Muslims in this country hold the can for extremist organizations like the PFI?
Destruction, vandalism, anarchy. A day after the biggest crackdown on Popular Front of India, its members went on a rampage in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. The PFI had called a bandh to protest against the midnight raids and arrest of its key leaders by central agencies. But PFI members used their hartal call as an excuse to go on a vandalism spree. State-owned buses and auto rickshaws were pelted with stones.
Inside this bus, we can see that there are fragments of glass that is there all over. There are big stones that are inside this. So this is a condition in most of the vehicles where buses have been damaged like this.
Tires were burnt and even private vehicles were not spared.
That the Hartal supporters, they took away the key and blocked the road. Now the police have gave a direct connection and now they have started this truck. So the technique was to just to block the truck and take away the key.
PFI workers were even caught on camera hurling petrol bombs at the offices of the RSS and the BJP. In some places, PFI workers tried to forcibly shut shops that were open despite their hartal call, but locals gave it back to them. The protest turned violent. The Kerala High Court initiated suo motu cognizance against PFI leaders for calling flash hartal despite it being banned by the court earlier.
So far in all across state, more than 400 persons have been put under preventive arrest and more than 500 persons have been arrested.
From being a threat to national security to vandalizing public property, is it time to ban the PFI once and for all?
All right, but first let's take a look at how widespread the violence and vandalism today in Kerala was. This is all the way starting from Kannur and Wayanad in the northern part of the state, Kozhikode, which is the third biggest city in the state. That entire belt, which is called Malabar, public transport was targeted, schools and colleges were shut. But it's not just there. It's also in the southern districts, Alappuzha, Pattanamthitta, Thiruvananthapuram. Again, places where you would imagine that the PFI's strength or its tentacles haven't spread that far and wide enough. Even in those places, you saw large-scale violence today. In Tamil Nadu, again, it was in the city of Coimbatore, which is, of course, the biggest city bordering Kerala. It was a spillover effect of the violence that we saw in Kerala spilling over across the border into Tamil Nadu. So clearly, a bulk of the violence today concentrated in Kerala as well as in Tamil Nadu, despite the fact that there are explicit orders. The Supreme Court has explicitly banned any kind of Bharat Bandh. The Kerala High Court has put up multiple orders saying that no one can call for flash strikes or hartals. And yet, today, what we have seen is widespread disruption of normal life across the length of Kerala. Let me go across to Vikram Singh. He's former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. Ghanshyam Tiwari, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, joining us. Aarti Agarwal is author and researcher. Dr. Tara Karta is former director of the National Security Council Secretariat. And Maulana Ali Qadri will be joining us, Islamic scholar. Let me start with Vikram Singh first. They say in India, if the police force in any state wants to stop a riot, then even God cannot create a riot. So tell me what exactly happened today, because what we saw today, sir, was widespread violence. It was in the northern districts, it was in the southern districts, and all of this seemingly to protest the arrest of certain leaders of the PFI. How can anyone justify taking the law into their own hands and indulging in this kind of rank hooliganistic behavior?
Good evening, Zaka. You very rightly articulated that nobody has the right to take law in his own hands. But much as some people would like to believe that everybody has a democratic right to give peaceful protest and rightful resentment, the democratic right to voice their dissent. This is not a rightful dissent. This is violence, and the naked kind of violence. Obviously, the Kerala police were caught on the wrong foot. They did not probably anticipate that this would lead to hurling of petrol bombs to rival camps, and also this level of vandalism and widespread violence and breakdown of law and order machinery. Now, of course, perhaps they are very professional police. They would have taken their reinforcements, got reinforcements from the central government as well. But yes, they should have anticipated and had actionable intelligence to ensure that life is normal. We have disturbing scenes of bus drivers flying government buses, putting on helmets in anticipation of the fact that perhaps they may be attacked and they may be subjected to brick batting. Now, perhaps the police know what anti-riot gear is and what anti-riot drill is. Once the police also, I give you a second corollary to what the police, if the police want, there shall be no wanton destruction of property, and there cannot be anybody taking law in his own hands. Make it very clear. Let this be very clear. Kerala is a very professional police force, and once this has happened, I'm sure there'll be no replication. And those who have been identified in the video and the CCTV cameras must be booked tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight itself, picked up and then sent to jail and given a lesson of a lifetime.
Over 100 people have been rounded up across the state, allegedly belonging to the PFI. But, you know, the thing that I find absolutely astounding is, why are you targeting public transport vehicles? What is the fault of these public transport drivers that they have to wear helmets and drive the buses for fear of being pelted with stones? It's not like they came and arrested the PFI leaders. But be that as it may, let me ask Ghanshyam Tiwari. What is critical here, Ghanshyam Tiwari, is there is an explicit Kerala High Court order in 2019 which has banned flash hartals. In fact, that order goes on to say that if anyone wants to call out a hartal, they have to give 7 days notice. What the PFI has done today is basically cock a snook at that judgment? Surely the PFI is not above the law of this land.
Good evening, Zaka, to you, the viewers, and my fellow co-panelists. The law of the land and the way the government sees the law of the land is visible in the kind of hate architecture that BJP has put in India. Where a PFI becomes the news item, they have the ability to create this destruction of property, take law in their own hands, and the Home Minister is missing. Where is the Home Minister of India? What is he doing? Is he stopping PFI, which is apparently, as per BJP, across the country? No. He is further building the hate architecture in Bihar. The Supreme Court is talking about the role of media that participates in the hate architecture sponsored by BJP and this government. When you have the national government working to build hate architecture, when you have international agencies talking about how the over 55% of anti-Muslim hate tweets on internet came from India, and definitely BJP is a major participant, BJP supporting media is a major participant, then you don't know which is the end where we will start solving the problem. We can discuss the problem, but neither you nor the respective Bikram Singh knows that which is the right end of the problem. I believe the right end of the problem is Home Minister of India. He has to decide whether it is he is participating as Hate Minister of India or he is participating as a Home Minister of India, whose responsibility is communal harmony is maintained. Organizations that are against communal harmony, whether it is BJP and RSS based organizations or whether it is PFI, those organizations are checked, and the federal government is not playing against the state government for petty politics to engineer such organizations. The last but not the least, you have Mr. Siddaramaiah, former Chief Minister of Karnataka, going on record and saying that BJP is supporting PFI and SDPI and such organizations to divide society. So if BJP is at the core of the hate architecture in India and Home Minister is unsure whether it is Home Minister or Hate Minister, then we will continue to have discussions, but they will not be meaningful.
Okay, let me ask Dr. Tara Karta, because since yesterday I've been hearing this argument, many are calling this equivalence, many are calling this false equivalence, that you can't just go after violence on one side. Yes, the PFI indulged in violence. No one should, in their right mind, condone that. But equally, at the same time, there's violence from the Hindu side as well. Yati Narsingh Anand, for example, is still roaming scot-free. What about hate speech that comes from the Hindu side? How come there isn't action, or at least timely action, that is taken against that? Do you buy this argument, or do you see a sense of false equivalence in this argument purely because of what is known about the role of the PFI and its tentacles, whatever we know of it in the public domain?
Zahra, I'm sorry. I have seen PFI growing from 2010. Okay, we've tracked this organization. I know exactly how much we warned against it and nothing was done. Right now, I'm from Kerala. I'm from the town where this is happening. And we have never seen such things before. So I am extremely worried that we have reached this level of violence in a state which is otherwise the most educated. And the reason why we warned of a PFI and of an Islamic State and of all this, everywhere you look, Zaka, you look at the Kabul, the Gurudwara bomb blast.
Yeah.
This guy had PFI links. You look at most of the Azamgarh areas, PFI links. Any terrorist area, there is a PFI link. So I'm sorry, there is a different case, which I entirely agree with you, that hate speech across religious spectrum should be punished. But this is a little more than that. I know that there was in 2016 a large group which was arrested from Kannur. Kannur, you can't go there nowadays. It is so bad, you cannot sell land unless you sell it to a particular community. So things have got extremely bad over the years. And the saddest part is that this hurts the Muslims who are moderate. Like you said, the majority are moderate. So when we don't weigh in and arrest these violent elements, the ones who suffer are the moderate Muslims. Kerala has never been like this. Never. We have lived together amicably with Muslims, Jews, every single Christian community. We have no history of violence.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, the political thing is aside, and I would 100% agree that if a Hindu, someone says this, he should be dealt with in the same way. But this case is special. It has spread very badly over the last 7 years.
Okay, let me ask Maulana Qadri. Maulana Qadri, काफी सारे मुसलमान संगठन जो हैं, All India Tanzeem Ulema Islam, Kul Hind Markazi Imam Council, मुस्लिम स्टूडेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन MSO, सब लोग आके कंडेम किए हैं जो आज के वायलेंस था, जो PFI का रोल था उसमें, और whatever we know about the PFI and its dangerous tentacles in the last 7, 8, 10 years, काफ़ी सारे मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस आके उसको कंडेम किए हैं। जो ताराकर्ता का पॉइंट था जो अभी उन्होंने बताई कि देखिए, this actually falls on the entire moderate Muslim community. The actions of a few extremists, ultimately the flack for it comes on the larger community of moderate Muslims. And until and unless there is leadership from within the community which comes out and unequivocally condemns this kind of extremist behavior explicitly, then this is going to be a curse that the community has to carry. This is going to be a cross that the community has to carry. कि कुछ लोगों की, चंद लोगों की जो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट तरीके हैं, उसके लिए सारे समुदाय को जिम्मेदार खड़े कर देंगे।
देखिए ज़ाकिर साहब, आपके चैनल के जरिए मैं सारे हिंदुस्तान के मुसलमानों से कुछ कहना चाहता हूं कि हमारे अपने हिंदुस्तान में बहुत सारे मुस्लिम रिलीजियस ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, जस्ट लाइक मरकजी अंजुमन खादरिया, सीरत नबी एकेडमी, तामीर मिल्लत, और आपके जमीयतुल उलमा हिंद, रजा एकेडमी, और आपके जो है दावत इस्लामी, बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, लेकिन किसी पर भी NIA ने कोई रेड नहीं किया, कोई छापामारी नहीं की। क्या वजह है कि PFI पर NIA जैसी एजेंसी छापामारी कर रही है, रेड्स कर रही है? तो वो लोग जो PFI के समर्थन में प्रोटेस्ट करें या करना चाहते हैं या उनके तायद में किसी किस्म का कोई स्टेटमेंट देना चाहते हैं, उन तमाम मुसलमानों को मैं ये बात कहना चाहता हूं कि कतई तौर पर आप ऐसी गलती ना करें, क्योंकि PFI के खिलाफ में बहुत सारे प्रूफ NIA के पास है, और वो प्रूफ करेंगे नहीं करेंगे वो तो वक्त बताएगा। लेकिन हमको जिस तरीके से परेशानी हो रही है चंद एक लोगों की वजह से, सारी मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को उसी सर्कल में खड़ा करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। देखिए साहब, मैं एक बात खुलेआम ये कहना चाहता हूं कि हर धर्म में कुछ अच्छे भी लोग होते हैं, कुछ खराब लोग भी होते हैं। अभी जैसे कि हमारी मैडम ने कहा कि नसीमनन के बारे में, तो वैसे भी लोग हिंदू मजहब में हैं कि आए दिन भड़काऊ बयान देते हैं, तो हम उसके खिलाफ भी बोलते हैं, और PFI जैसी गतिविधियां हैं, जो एक्टिविटीज है, हम उसके भी खिलाफ बोलते हैं। और आज का जो वायलेंस है, ये बात का प्रूफ है कि PFI जो है कोई सोशल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नहीं है। इनके एक्टिविटीज से ये पता चलता है, इनके वायलेंस से ये पता चलता है, इनके एजिटेशन से पता चलता है कि ये कहीं ना कहीं आतंक फैलाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। और बहुत सारे लोगों को ये गलत, एक 30 सेकंड से साहब, बहुत सारे लोगों को ये गलत फहमी है कि आतंक माने ब्लास्ट ही करना, आतंक माने गोली ही चलाना। अरे आतंक बहुत किस्म का होता है, कम्युनिटी को डिस्टर्ब करना भी मेरी नजर में आतंक है, और लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को प्रॉब्लम में डालना भी आतंक है, दो समुदाय में लड़ाना भी मेरी नजर में आतंक है। तो ऐसी
गतिविधियों The problem is, of course, there is a case being made to ban the PFI nationally. Whether or not that ban will happen, we will wait and see. But the problem is this, and I'm going to read from an affidavit that was filed back in 2012, not by a BJP government or by a communist government, but a Congress government, when Oommen Chandy was Chief Minister of Kerala. This is what they had filed in an affidavit in the High Court, that PFI is nothing but a resurrection of the banned outfit, the Students' Islamic Movement of India, in another form. The question is, Simi was banned, it metamorphosized into PFI. Tomorrow, if you're going to ban PFI, it's going to metamorphosize into something else.
Right. Thank you, Zaka. So I have been saying this several times, even in your show. But I think, banning PFI may be a bigger, fish to fry. I think what the government needs to do is freeze the assets of all the people and, not just PFI, but all the linked organizations for whom we already have the proof that they have been funding violence across cities all over India. Because, we've been discussing mob violence and street violence since March of this year, and we are still discussing it. We've seen violence even today, and every incident has shown that, PFI is either sponsoring it, or there are people involved, or there are some links or the other. So, we already have enough evidence to do something like freezing their assets so they can at least stop funding violence, so they can at least stop funding the people who trigger the violence or hiring more people for it. The list goes on and on. So my point is that, whether we ban it or not, and whether we can ban it or not is a separate question, but there needs to be steps where we first thwart the attempts to first even start violence like the one which we are seeing today. I mean, this is PFI protesting what? Arrest of their leaders, and now we are basically creating the same problem which we're trying to check by, banning PFI. So I think the other point I want to make here is, we are talking about moderate Muslims condemning it, which is a welcome step. But I think the moderate Muslims need to go one step ahead of just condemning it. They need to be a little bit more proactive so we understand that they exist. Because, we hear these squeaky voices now and then that moderate Muslims are condemning PFI and things like that, which is good. But we need to be a bit more proactive. They need to take political and legal action.
No, but Aarti, the same can be asked when a Yati Narasimhanand makes hate speech. People ask the same question, where are the moderate Hindus? Why are they not coming out and condemning it unequivocally?
They do come out. Of course, they do come out. There has been action against Yati Narasimha Singh. There have been enough people who have condemned him from the so-called Hindutva side, the people they label as Hindutva. Enough of those people have condemned him. So there has been action against him.
No, so Vikram Singh, respond to that. The accusation against law enforcement agencies is, in some cases, you go after, the Muslim extremists, but you're quiet against, extremists of the Hindu faith or any other faith for that matter. And that is a double standard that the law enforcement agencies are applying. Now, surely, in the case of the PFI, it is no one's case that, this crackdown should not have happened, or that it's no one's case that everybody who's been picked up is guilty. That ultimately will have to be proved in a court of law. But when questions are being asked of even-handedness or equity before law, that all sides are treated the same, that is something that is being asked by some folks.
Zaka, selective action is just not acceptable. That is no action whatsoever. It is counterproductive. Equality before law is an established tenet of law, and I would strongly recommend that you not only have to be equal and be absolutely impartial in the eyes of law, but to your own conscience also. It does not work if you show me the man and I show you the rules. Yati Narasimhanand or whoever has taken law in his own or her hands is accountable before law, and deterrent action has to be taken, as Maulana Qadri Sahab has just. Whatever Maulana Sahab has said, Maulana Sahab की बातें जो हैं वो मरहम लगाने वाली हैं, और मैं चाहता हूं इसको सोने की इमारत में मड़वा करके हर घर में टांगा जाए, जिससे कि लोगों को नसीहत मिले, मशवरा मिले, उम्दा और मुफीद और आसान मशवरा मिले, जिसे कि गलत रास्ते की तरफ करना छोड़ दे, देखें भी नहीं. But what we need is a voice of sanity. Of course, the architecture of violence has not to be addressed by the Prime Minister or the Home Minister. It will be addressed by the station house officer and the Superintendent of Police and the Superintendent of Jails. Attempting to assassinate the Prime Minister of the country is not something that can be condoned or swept underneath the carpet. Training people and radicalizing the youth is also cannot be swept underneath the carpet. Training the youth and also getting funds, illegitimate funds, and using them ostensibly for the rehabilitation of widows and orphans and the destitute, and misusing it for subversive purposes and anti-national activities cannot be dismissed as swept underneath the carpet. Zaka, one has to be cruel to be kind, and I would say whether it incarnates as something, I have been a part of the banning of CIVI, and therefore the mistake that we made then, we cannot allow this to reincarnate as something else.
In some other form, yeah.
Biometric.
I want to ask Ghanshyam Tiwari, I want to go back a bit of background for our viewers. There was in 2017 a case, it was famously called the Valarpatnam Case, where 2 members of the PFI were arrested for sending 2 individuals to Turkey to join the Islamic State. In fact, one of them was picked up from Turkey. Now, my question is very simple, Ghanshyam Tiwari. Here you have an organization whose members have been convicted for sending people to be part of IS, for sending people to be part of Daesh. They lose no opportunity in protesting, sometimes even violently, against things like CAA, hijab, Ram Navami. All of this, the PFI's hand has been shown in the public domain. All of this information is there in the public domain. Why should such an organization ever get a long rope?
Because the Home Minister of India wants such an organization to have a long rope. When the Home Minister is not in charge and a station superintendent has to be in charge of this in India, which police station can deal with such an organization? This was a NIA raid against which they called this hartal. What is the responsibility of the Home Minister of India? If there is an organization that is creating violence, creating hate, shouldn't the Home Minister of India look at how this organization has to be curtailed and this hate narrative has to be killed?
But Ghanshyam Tiwari, just
allow
a
it to
short
complete.
interjection, 10 seconds. Are you telling me that a multi-state operation across 15 states did not have coordination by the Home Minister or the Home Ministry? Surely that could not have happened.
Well, if the Home Minister is not available on the job, no one from BJP is taking responsibility. Just on this show, we learned that how PFI has grown in the last 7 years. And on a previous day, the Supreme Court is asking, where is our nation headed? About hate speech in media, and asking why is Centre standing a mute witness? Centre is standing a mute witness anywhere where the hate is at the center of the narrative. Because the Centre, BJP, wants to benefit from this whole hate architecture.
Okay.
Why do you think Mr. Amit Shah is in Simanchal in Bihar, and why is he not there in Kerala? Would he only be in Kerala when he has to participate in municipal elections?
No, let me
government
ask
that is
Tara
whose
Karta,
core
as
job.
somebody involved in the national security architecture previously, ma'am, could such an elaborate 15-state operation have happened individually at the level of the NIA or the local police help that they have taken in BJP ruled states and CRPF help that they've taken in non-BJP ruled states? Surely an operation of this scale had to be coordinated from the center.
Oh, absolutely, Zaka. There is no two way. There is no way it can be done without the Home Minister, and particularly this Home Minister, keeping a very sharp eye on this. However, there's something I want to say. You know, when you're talking of curbing this, you know, you look at some of the videos which have come out, which I have seen from the PFI, they are horrifying. These are by the local mullahs and so on and so forth. People, there are political people who are from the PFI, legislators, who are saying the most absurd things. I don't want to repeat it here because it's horrifying. That is where moderate Muslims need to step in and stop this kind of teaching from going on, because this is what is infecting the state. However, I would also give a small caution here. This kind of violence is extremely unusual to Kerala. I mean, it seems to me a kind of an orchestration which has taken place. Unless the PFI was already prepared with this kind of thing, I don't know. Third thing is, you also need to look at the criminal angle. The PFI has been involved in a lot of criminal activities. If it's grown from my home state to, I think, nearly 22 states now, there's a lot of money there.
Okay.
So
Maulana Qadri, I'll
aspects...
give you the last word. Kal jo NIA ka statement tha when they submitted, when they produced 18 of these accused in the Patiala House Court, unhone ye kaha tha ki criminal violent acts carried out by the PFI, like the chopping off of the hand of a college professor, cold-blooded killings of persons belonging to the RSS and to the CPIM, destruction of public property, have all had a demonstrative effect of striking terror in the minds of citizens. तो ये तो साफ तौर पे वो कह रहे हैं कि ये दहशत फैलाने के लिए कर रहे हैं ये सब.
देखिए सर, इसीलिए तो मैं ये बात कह रहा हूं कि पीएफआई पर न सिर्फ छापेमारी होना चाहिए बल्कि इनको टोटली बैन लगना चाहिए. ऐसे लोगों को हिंदुस्तान में किसी किस्म की कोई जगह नहीं मिलनी चाहिए. आपके चैनल के जरिए माध्यम से एक बात मैं हमारे एनएसए चीफ अजीत डोवाल साहब को भी कहना चाहूंगा कि इस मामले में हमारे पास सोशल मीडिया पर हमको कड़ी नजर रखने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि थ्रू सोशल मीडिया ये लोग बहुत सारे जहरीले मैसेजेस पास ओवर कर रहे हैं, जिससे इनोसेंट मुस्लिम्स को यह समझ में आ रहा है कि इंडिया में मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस पर जुल्म हो रहा है. तो ऐसी चीजों पर भी हमको नजर रखने की जरूरत है और कड़ी नजर रखते हुए ऐसे जो लोग मैसेज पास ओवर कर रहे हैं. अब जैसे मेरी बात ले लीजिए आप, कल से जो है मुझे सोशल मीडिया पर व्हाट्सएप कॉलिंग पर मुझे थ्रेट्स आ रहे हैं कि आप पीएफआई के खिलाफ बोले, विद इन 24 आवर्स आपको खत्म कर देंगे. बहुत सारी ऐसी बातें हो रही है. तो मैं ये चाहूंगा कि सोशल मीडिया पर भी कड़ी नजर रखी जाए और इसके ऊपर भी एनआईए खास नजर रखे.
I am completely out of time. I want to thank all our guests. We'll see how this story plays out through the course of the next few days. But as we wrap up, do not forget to vote for your favorite startup, the unicorn that you feel deserves to be the Indian of the Year startups. Just go to indianoftheyear.com and cast your vote. Anusha joining you in a moment.
and after that is done, and I'll also tell you this was sent to the Election Commission.
One second, sir.
We can have a civilized debate. Before Mr. Nadda's election, 75% of the booth committees, 50% of the mandal committees, 60% of the Zilla committees and 21 state committees were constituted as per elections. The entire record was sent to the Election Commission along with the schedule for the election. Yes, this was a unanimous election because
so I was going to ask, who stood against him?
No.
Nobody stood against him?
No, that does not mean that that's not an election.
No, somebody has to stand against you. No, I mean, otherwise, how is it an election?
An election is when you have the ability for anybody to come and contest freely and fairly.
Okay.
There are many presidents of our country who were elected unanimously because there was no contest.
Sure.
The lack of a contest doesn't mean it's not an election.
No, for example, what the Congress is saying is, if it is going to be Gehlot versus Tharoor, at least there is an election. You didn't have an election.
Let me answer that part specifically. If there is going to be a contest, Gehlot and Tharoor have to first go and do Malkin se Manjuri, that Malkin, can I go and contest? Is this an election? Malkin being Sonia Gandhi and the Manjuri for the workers of the Congress. See, it's not a party. It's like a private limited company that the driver or the employee has to go and ask the owner that Sahab main ye kar loon.
Secondly, because you know it's a fair point you're making, because 2 days back, Shashi Tharoor went and met Sonia Gandhi, and right after that there were stories after stories. Everybody carried it saying he went and sought permission. Of course, then after that the damage control happened. But if that's the case, again, I'm coming back to that point. Whoever wins, how will he or she, dispel this misconception, according to you, that they are a Darbari / remote controlled candidate? Mr. Sabha.
If the BJP earlier presidents, they were selected unanimously, as the BJP spokesperson is talking, then even Srimati Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, they were also elected unanimously. In 2018, Rahul Gandhi was elected unanimously. So when they are getting elected unanimously, why they are pointing out to Congress party as a parivarik party or the party of dynasty? Number one. Number two, what you said about meeting Srimati Sonia Gandhi.
Yeah.
See, it is the Indian tradition. Whenever in Indian tradition a person has to do go for a big contest or a big job, he takes blessings from the senior. Let me give you example of Indian wrestlers also. We have seen number of time that wrestler before going into the bout, वो अपने गुरु का पांव छूते हैं और अपने गुरु का ही पांव नहीं छूते, वो अपने ओपोनेंट के गुरु का भी पांव छू लेते हैं.
ठीक है, वो श्रद्धा के लिए गए थे, आशीर्वाद लेने के लिए गए थे, not permission. Okay, let me go to the analysts, please. They've all been waiting. Nalin has been waiting, Rashid has been waiting, Sanjay has been waiting as well. Nalin, I'll start with you first. Look, when the Prime Minister spoke on Independence Day, he said two things. We have to wage a war on two things between now and 2024, one of which was dynastic politics. Now, assuming Mr. Gandhi is true to his word, what he said today publicly in the press conference, he's not going to stand for the election, and whoever the next Congress president is, can the Congress legitimately turn around and say that, look, where is the question of dynastic politics?
Good evening, hello and welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Anusha Soni. First, it was the IT capital of India, the city of Bengaluru, that literally drowned as heavy rainfall unleashed mayhem. And now, the story is being painfully repeated in Gurgaon. As a yellow alert was sounded in the NCR region, key highways and roads saw severe flooding, leading to schools being shut down and government advising work from home for the private sector employees. Year after year, we narrate the story of cities sinking, each story worse than the last one. Our politicians indeed have failed to address this issue effectively. Rapid urbanization, complete absence of any planning to tackle climate change will make the situation much worse in the years to come. Experts say that. Who is responsible for this mayhem? How can we tackle this crisis? Our focus on biggest exclusive tonight. First up, a special report.
A fresh spell of rains, an old story. Bengaluru and Mumbai then, Millennium City Gurugram today. Traffic at a virtual standstill, schools and so-called dispensable services shut, advisories and warnings, the flimsy formula the Aam Aadmi has learned to accept with a shrug. So what if this NCR town houses country headquarters of multinational corporate giants? The administration asked corporate offices and private institutions in the district to guide their employees to work from home.
12 बजे के करीब बारिश हुई थी और उसके बाद देर रात तक बारिश रही है और यही वजह रही है कि गुरुग्राम के बहुत से इलाकों में काफी पानी जो है वो भरा हुआ है.
The culprit is continuous and heavy rains over the past 24 hours. The Gurugram Metropolitan Development Authority says it deployed teams on the ground through the night to remove water from critical areas. 3,000 cops, PCR vans and tow-away vehicles were stationed to ease difficult situations.
इनों को पहले से अपनी प्रिपरेशन करके रखनी चाहिए ना, जब इनों को पता है कि इस रोड पे पानी काफी ज्यादा भर जाता है, लोगों को दिक्कत परेशानी होती है आने जाने में.
पानी में कितना पानी भरा हुआ है, इतना गवर्नमेंट ने अच्छे रोड बना दिए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट इतना अच्छा पूरा वीआईपी रोड है ये, फिर भी इतना पानी भरा हुआ है.
पंप से पानी कहाँ जाएगा? नीचे जाएगा, नीचे फिर भी भरा पड़ा है. आप नीचे अगर कोई बंदा जाता है नीचे भी तो पानी भर रहा है. पंप से ये तो है नहीं है, पंप से यहाँ का पानी नीचे फेंक दोगे.
The Met Office forecasts more rains in the Delhi-NCR region over the coming 2 days too, on account of a stated cyclonic circulation over northwestern MP and southwestern UP.
Now rain over NCR will gradually reduce. There are chances like Delhi today, we have given moderate. Yesterday we have given heavy and it was realized. Today we are giving only moderate rain, but tomorrow there are chances that rain may increase actually. By 25th night, NCR will be clear from cloud.
Bear in mind that like Bengaluru or Mumbai or Chennai, Gurugram and Delhi-NCR are among the country's frontline metro municipalities, big industry and big tax collections. As infrastructure cracks attributed to nature's fury show up again and again, the refrain that arises is, doesn't the Aam Aadmi deserve better?
Well, here is a shout out to our viewers. You can call us live. You can tell us your story if you're living in one of the cities which is flooded, which is affected by this rain mayhem. Give us a call. Who's responsible for our sinking cities? Call us live, share your views. We also have a full panel of guests joining us on the broadcast. But before that, let's also take you through the story of Gurugram, Mumbai, Bengaluru, the three key cities who are usually affected each monsoon, and as I said earlier, much worse than the last time. Gurugram, the present suffering about 1.755 mm rains on the 22nd of September. Yellow alert has been sounded. We saw those visuals. You had the big highways flooded, people stuck in traffic jams, cars floating. There's water that entered into residential society, especially the houses which are built on the ground floor. Now the waterlogged roads, clogged traffic, schools shut down, office asked to work from home. This is a story year after year. It doesn't change, unfortunately. Inadequate drainage infrastructure, natural rains disrupted. If you cut hills, if you cut Aravalis, if there is illegal mining which is happening in eco-sensitive areas, that's what will happen. Now, in Gurugram, exploding urbanization, change in the land use pattern is one of the key reasons. Expert reports point out that more than 100%, if you look at the rate of urbanization, the manner in which the residential societies have gone up. Encroachments, choked drains, you've not built ponds, you've created parking lots, but there is no place for the rainwater harvesting to really go. Let's talk about Bengaluru. We have spoken about the story earlier as well, and we saw there are vast areas that were submerged. The IT hub came to a near standstill. And this is one of the big cities, one of the prime cities of the country that we are talking about. Areas around Bengaluru Lake, they were worst affected. There are multiple stories that we narrated to you that how the ecologically sensitive areas have been a victim of illegal encroachment. And that is the reason you had losses of over 7,400 crore rupees that were suffered by the IT companies. And if you speak to any of these entrepreneurs living in the IT capital, they'll tell you, we don't want compensation, we want better cities to live in. Excessive construction, lake encroachment, the nexus of the builders and the netas that we've spoken about, that's what exactly is responsible, and that's why you have the lake interconnectivity which has been lost and eco-sensitive areas which are the victim of encroachment. In the city of Bengaluru, we saw this mess. Of course, there are natural canals and drains that are blocked. There was an argument that there is no long-term strategy in place. You saw the politicians indulging in blame game. The city of Mumbai, the financial capital of the country, is not very different, unfortunately. You had uncommon flooding in parts of South Mumbai, near Gurgaon. You had Churchgate, the Hind Mata, that area, of course, infamously, each time there's a rain, it's flooded. Heavy flooding on city highways. The potholes are a key issue, and in Mumbai, one of the worst part is that despite being the financial capital each year during the monsoon season, because of this urban mayhem, there are many people who lose their lives. But it's a story that continues to be repeated. However, there's been no solution. Low-lying areas go completely submerged, not to forget the fact that Mumbai has a special kind of a geography that makes it far more challenging. But these are realities of climate change, the realities of climate change that the big cities in the country will have to face. You also had the frantic pace of construction, green patches which are fading. Many political parties now are talking about it, that how development needs to be also environmentally very responsible. Multiple orders of the National Green Tribunal have been made, whether it's Mumbai, Bengaluru or Gurugram, to ensure that housing societies come up in a very responsible manner. That didn't happen. Construction debris, clogged drains, nalas, not silted in time. The basic work that the municipal authorities need to do, that is not done. You also had the Methi River, more like Seaver, overflowing every monsoon season, and that doesn't really paint a great picture of one of the most thriving cities of the country. There is a major deficiency in the drainage system. There is a CAG report of 2019, and we have seen that how, despite these multiple expert reports that have existed, very little has happened on the ground. But let's focus what's happening in NCR right now. In Gurugram, it's a story of huge highways that have been made. But at the same time, you see water being, flooded. And my colleague Yash is there on the ground. Yash, I see you on the ground reporting. Behind you, it's dark, but I can make that, there's heavy rainfall, water clogged, cars moving at a very slow pace. Tell us the story. What's happening in Gurugram right now?
Well, Anushka, the story continues to be the same. Right now, if I can show you, this particular road of Sector 47 is completely inundated in water, and this has been the same story for quite a years now. What we can show you in these visuals, this entire stretch, this particular road of Sector 47 is approximately 2.5 kilometers long, and this entire stretch is inundated in water. Not only that, we also spoke to some of the locals over here. They say that this story continues to repeat, and they continues to bear the brunt of rains every year. What I can also tell you, one very worrying situation over here is that there is one hospital right over here, and you can see that. Just imagine if any sort of untoward situation arises, if some sort of situation arises over here, what will happen? How the patient is supposed to reach to the destination, as these roads are completely submerged under the water. I can also tell you that we've been reporting from this particular area since the morning, and I've been here on the ground at this particular spot since 12 p.m. and I can tell you that this particular area has no water pump installed over here, and I have barely seen any officials either from the traffic police or from the Gurgaon authorities to take cognizance or to resolve any situation which is arising over here. People are continuously suffering. Their vehicles are getting stalled over here. You can see this one particular vehicle which is currently being stalled due to the heavy rains, and this story continues to play out. One other thing which we really need to understand is right now is that this particular area was actually constructed way back, but still construction is going on the side pavements, and due to these heavy rains, these pavements have been broken and the water is continuously getting inside these roads. So if we talk about a solution, there doesn't seem to be a solution as per se right now, just because the kind of infrastructure we are seeing over here in Gurgaon and in this particular lane, which is at this particular road, which is the Sector 47 road, it doesn't seem that woes of people will end very soon. Though the IMD has said, and I spoke to the senior scientist over there, he actually categorically mentioned that rains will subside in this region, but rains will subside. But the thing to understand is that rains will go, but this crumbled infrastructure will stay. What will happen in the future?
Will stay. What will happen in the future?
Phenomenal.
And Yash, as you pointed out, this is a story which is repeated each year. Gurugram, as an urban destination, is known for the massive flyovers, amazing urban construction that has happened, real estate projects that came with much fanfare. And what happens each year? You see this waterlogging that happens, snarl traffic, schools being shut down, people asked to work from home. That's the new trend that has really emerged, because our politicians and our netas are not able to fix the issues that they should. Once again, reiterating for our viewers, if you have a point of view, if you're suffering because of this rain fury, Call us live, share your views and tell us what you really think. Opening up this question to our guest as well, who's responsible for our sinking cities and when will this mayhem really end? Joining us on the broadcast is Anuja Kapoor. She's the spokesperson of the Delhi BJP. We also have Mudit Agarwal, who's the spokesperson of the Congress Party. Professor Bijan Mishra, he's an activist of consumer rights and also an international consumer policy expert. Umesh Saigal, who's a former chief secretary, is also joining us on the broadcast. Anuja, I'm coming to you first. In the city of Gurugram right now, what we are witnessing, it's not for the first time and unfortunately, it will not be for the last time. What is the government doing? Do you have any long-term policy vision? Because I can cite you reports after reports, how trees have been cut, how illegal mining continues to be a huge issue, how Aravalis continue to be decimated. Gurugram is one of the few districts that has Aravali. And the manner in which the entire area has come down has been well documented in multiple expert reports. Anuja.
Anusha, as you have shown your report on Gurugram, and you very well know that, and you have also said it by yourself that the urbanization and the way it is concentration of the people who have been living throughout, there has been a blockage and the natural drains have been blocked. You also know that it is the area of the Aravali Hills. You also know that. And we have also seen in the further longer years, and we have keep looking into this, the water bodies have come down due to the expansion. So first of all, the problem which comes up is with the population, which is on the higher level, and the way people are trying to stay out in Gurgaon from Delhi-NCR, and they are going ahead. The government has been tirelessly working throughout. Now, if you would say that it is the act of God also.
Are you saying that, Anuja, that this is an act of God and the government can't do much about it?
The government has been doing, ma'am, and there had been 5 pumps which have been deployed during the rains.
My colleague was just on the ground. Anuja, my colleague was just on the ground and he said that he's standing there since 12 in the afternoon and no pumps have come in to flush out the water.
The water has been taking it, and the first thing which has been come up, because we didn't want it, that the risk of the lives were on the paramount. So we have also asked the people to stay home during this period when the construction at that time, what can be done so that the water logging. You have also have to consider, ma'am, the rains which have come up is like a cloudburst also. Don't blame everything on the person itself.
This is not a cloudburst, ma'am. Ma'am, this is not a cloudburst. Those are very two different things. Cloudburst is a very different phenomenon. Cloudburst is a very different phenomenon. What is happening in our cities is a very different phenomenon. Yes, it's a high rainfall. The government of the day or any civic administration should be prepared for it, Anuja. You can't say it's an act of God.
Gurugram has been doing tirelessly. It's been job wherever the BJP is there has been doing it.
I'll take the callers. Let's listen into the citizens. Let's listen into the citizens. Naresh Yadav is joining us from Gurugram. नरेश जी नमस्कार, क्या चल रहा है इस समय गुरुग्राम में, किस तरह की समस्याएं आ रही हैं?
हेलो
नरेश जी, आवाज आ रही है आपको?
जी आ रही है।
जी बताइए, इस समय क्या चल रहा है गुरुग्राम में, कैसी परिस्थिति है?
मैडम बारिश के कारण ना हर जगह जाना बंद है, कोई कहीं जा ही नहीं सकता है। और हमारा जो प्रशासन है ना, वो हर साल करोड़ों का बजट खराब कर देता है, कहता है हम तैयार हैं, हर बारिश के बाद यही हाल होता है।
जी, बहुत सारे लोग हैं प्रशासन से हमारे पास, उनका कहना है कि सरकार अपना काम कर रही है, अब बारिश ही ज्यादा हो रही है तो उसमें हम क्या कर सकते हैं?
नहीं, हर बारिश में ऐसे ही होता है मैम। और अब की बार तो इन्होंने बोला था निगम वालों ने कि संबंधित अधिकारी जिम्मेवार होगा, तो अब क्या हुआ?
संबंधित अधिकारी जिम्मेदार
थोड़ी सी बारिश होती ही नरसिंहपुर में तो बुरा हाल हो जाता है, हमेशा से ये।
जी
आप सनबीम कंपनी के बाहर देखोगे, मेन गेट के ऊपर बारिश के टाइम में वो बालू के कट्टे लगा के रखते हैं, कहीं पानी ना आ जाए अंदर।
जी, सैंड माइनिंग और बहुत सारी दूसरी समस्याएं भी है। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया नरेश जी हमसे बात करने के लिए। विनीत फ्रॉम गुरुग्राम इज आल्सो जॉइनिंग अस। विनीत, व्हाट आर यू फेसिंग?
Look, I am on the Golf Course Road or Golf Course Road के बाहर. I live in Sun City.
Yeah.
There is always water jamming, water logging and बहुत बुरा हाल होता है.
जी.
The point is, this BJP spokesperson on the show is saying बारिश ज़्यादा हो रही है, population ज़्यादा है. Don't you know about this? This happens. Where is your planning? Where is the planned stormwater drainage which takes away the water effectively? non-existent. They have not done anything in this regard.
All right, I'm glad you're making that point. I'll take that to the BJP spokesperson. I'll take Praveen from Bengaluru as well. Praveen, you face this in the city of Bengaluru. Gurugram is facing something similar. Unfortunately, there's a resemblance in the misery of the cities in our country.
Right, ma'am. Actually, all cities, if you notice, they have grown rapidly, and our governments have not been able to catch up with, the rapid urbanization and population explosion. They haven't been able to deliver, good facilities, good infrastructure, to handle this kind of crisis. First, we need to lay out the roads and then plan for a new city. Ultimately, what happens is the city gets built up, and then we search for space to build roads and infrastructure, or transportation. So, we lack, credible, public transportation.
Proactive planning, and the change, yes. The challenge of climate change is that all governments will have to brace up. I'll take in more callers, but I want to go across to Mudit Agarwal as well of the Congress Party. Muditji, and I'll go to Anuja as well for a reaction first. Anuja, why don't you react first? These are people, these are citizens talking. They're not happy with what you're saying.
Okay, if they're not happy, you know that before the Bharatiya Janata Party, it was the Huda government. What were they doing for 10 years? They have built it up, the tall buildings. Did they look into the infrastructure? BJP came now. BJP has been acting upon it. What they have been doing for 10 years?
Political blame game.
Not just questioning BJP will help you.
You didn't answer the question. I think any government who's in power will be questioned by me, and that's what I'm doing. Thank you, Anuja. I'm going across to Mudit Agarwal. Muditji, the government of this says that they have done their job. People clearly are not happy. When you were in power, was there any kind of proactive planning that the Congress Party did?
See, firstly, what I would say is BJP spokesperson is in a denial mode. Let's understand what the issues are. It's all have to do with urban planning and the things that go into urban planning. I always maintain this: as population increases, as new development infrastructure takes place, it's duty of the governments to make sure the new challenges that come up, they have to be handled. They have to be faced and handled. This is the problem which is happening in NCR year after year after year. You are talking about Gurgaon. Let's talk about Noida. Let's talk about Delhi itself. Delhi is a mess itself. Yesterday night, I was coming back from Gurgaon, actually, from Gurgaon border to my place in Delhi, which normally takes 30 minutes. It took me 2 hours to reach. So Delhi is the same thing, and it's the capital city of India.
Muditji, in all fairness, I'll give you the time to respond. In all fairness, the Congress Party has been in power for the majority of the period after independence. Climate change has not suddenly happened. We were always aware that this kind of urbanization can create a problem someday. Were your governments in the earlier era, were they really cognizant of these problems? Did you do anything to that effect?
So of course we were. If you look back in Delhi, even if you look 10 years back or 15 years back, I mean, we never had such a big issue as we are having right now. In Gurgaon also, infrastructure was built at a certain time. But when the new governments come, I mean, they've been here for the last 7 years now. What have they done to improve it? You cannot just keep sitting on the problem. Let's say we developed the cities, but that city needs upgradation. Why haven't you done that for 7 years?
What I'm really appalled is that it's called an act of God and cloudburst, and we can't really do about it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Bijon Mishra, I want to come to you. Sir, you heard the politicians. Yes, please. 30 seconds to you, sir. 30 seconds.
Seriously, we should not be in denial mode, whichever the party may be. It's our job to make sure that we respond to problems of cities and of people. And we should be cognizant of those problems and try and solve them. Rather than saying it's an act of God or being in denial mode, it doesn't help at all. Is the government is a continuous process.
Muditji, the unfortunate reality is we saw something similar in Bengaluru. Something similar happens when we talk about Mumbai. Our political class has refused to live up to the responsibility as proactive measures the citizens are demanding, educated citizens living in these cities are demanding.
I would like to counter on this, ma'am. Just Anusha, why don't you have an Aam Aadmi party here? Just tell me, are you just getting politicized by some people?
Anuja, next time, Anuja, the next time I frame my panel, I will message you and I will ask you who I should have on the panel. Thank you very much. I want to move to the other guests. Bijonji, I'm coming to you and talking about, the manner in which our political class has been talking. Political blame game is the order of the day. Despite the fact that the climate change, an issue like climate change requires serious policy thought, we only get political bickering, blame game, and there are no long-term measures which are planned. I mean, I would think that there should be a task force, irrespective of political parties, that should plan that how our cities are going to respond in the next 15 years.
Absolutely. Anusha, you have actually hit the nail on the head. Let me put it this way. All political parties, what I have seen, do not engage the local population while they're developing their plan. And number two, even when they develop a plan and make it go public for public comments, they do not allow citizens groups to engage experts to make comments on those plans. And the plans get made and finalized behind the back. And even if there is a plan in place, it is never implemented in the manner it has been designed by experts in terms of town planning. So what you need to see is that how violations are committed repeatedly, whichever political parties come, because they look at it as a money-making machine, that whoever takes care of this portfolio, they're least interested on the citizens' welfare or their goodness or their good living style. They would announce a number of schemes which will talk about smart cities, which will talk about good, designing.
But at the local municipal level, nothing really happens. Umeshi, what is the reason that our netas and bureaucracy, I would add, has failed to live up to the promise of smart cities, the dreams that were shown to millions of people in this country? Umeshi, if you can...
This problem actually has three dimensions. This problem has three dimensions. The first dimension is, of course, apathy. They don't clean the drains properly, or you don't clean the road properly, or things like this. There is no doubt about that. And we can't blame the blamers for this because they have planned it properly, but we are unable to manage it. But this is not the only reason, and that is why every year after year you have the same problem. Even if the drains are cleaned, you still find the same problem. The second issue is of garbage disposal. What has happened is that out of 12, or I don't know what is the figure now, 12,000-13,000 tons of garbage collected every year, hardly about 9,000-10,000 reaches the, so 2,000 tons of garbage remains, and much of it you find strewn on the road. So as soon as the rain comes, this garbage goes into the drains, and you choke the drains at a time when you need the drains to be totally clean. Now this is another problem which needs to be tackled by planners. I don't dispute that. But there is another problem, especially in Delhi, Gurgaon and other cities. All the drainage water has to go into the Jamna. Now, when there is a heavy rain, the Jamna level also rises. And if you remember many years back, there used to be flooding every year. And these flooding was stopped by making these huge bunds on the side of the Jamna. So what is happening is the water remains in the Jamna, it rises, and since all these drains, the stormwater drains,
sir,
etc.,
I think a lot of issues are lost
so
in the political narrative.
No, just let me.
I want to bring in callers as well. I want to bring in callers as well, sir. Umesh ji, I'll come back to you. Pradeep from Uttarakhand is also joining us. Pradeep ji, आप बताइए, उत्तराखंड में भी बाढ़ से या फिर बारिश से बहुत सारी समस्याओं का लोगों को सामना करना पड़ता है. इस बार परिस्थिति कैसी है?
हेलो,
प्रदीप जी, अपनी टेलीविजन की आवाज बंद कर दीजिए.
कैन यू हियर मी मैम?
आई कैन हियर यू प्रदीप जी.
हाँ, ये उत्तराखंड में फ्लड आ गया इस समय. मेरा ऊर्जा से सवाल है. ये तो बहुत दावे करते हैं बड़े बड़े.
जी, किस तरह की समस्याओं का सामना करना पड़ा आपको?
न पानी है न कुछ है, गाड़ी ऐसी बह रही है. ये तो बहुत दावा कर रहे थे बड़े बड़े. प्रदीप मेरा नाम है मैम.
जी प्रदीप जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमें कॉल करने के लिए, अपनी समस्या बताने के लिए. और बहुत सारे नेता हैं यहाँ पे जो आपकी बात सुन रहे हैं. आई ऑल्सो वॉन्ट टू ब्रिंग इन संजीव गुप्ता, हु इज कॉलिंग अस फ्रॉम दिल्ली. संजीव जी, टेल अस व्हाट यू आर फेसिंग.
Yes, ma'am, the issue is not, this is gross capital mismanagement. If you see that each house for increase in FAR deposits crores of rupees. Suppose you are selling a house, I buy a house, I pay the government almost 10 to 20 lakh as stamp fee. Where does that money go? No, nobody knows. Then again, if I have to build a new plot over it, I have to build a new house, I pay crores as map fee to the municipal corporation. Where does that money go? Nobody knows. If you in totality see that the plot that was allotted 20 years back for say 2 lakh or 5 lakh, it is now worth almost 4 to 5 crore. The stamp duty involved is 20 to 25 lakh.
And you know, some of the municipal bodies in our country are the richest bodies in Asia, and yet we have potholes in those cities. That's the tragedy. Venkat from Mumbai is also calling us. Venkat, what are you facing?
Hi, good evening to everybody in the panel. I wanted to disagree with what the BJP spokesperson is talking about when she's practically living in a denial mode. When once you go into a denial mode, the mistake that's been happening for ages now will never be rectified.
Right.
When I have been an ardent supporter of BJP, but still I have to say this because until unless you accept your mistakes, you're not going to rectify the issues at all.
Yeah.
And the other two issues that I feel are the causes for this problem is the municipal corporation employees who allot the water body areas to builders and other contractors for development or whatever,
right.
instead of actually utilizing it in such situations where waterlogging can happen.
I take all the feedback that has come in from our callers, and in that same spirit of having a constructive conversation, I go back to our political guests, Mudit Agarwal and Anuja Kapoor. And Anuja, I'm talking irrespective of the political lines. You're the elected government of the day. In the next 5 to 10 years, can we expect proactive solutions to come from the government? And can there be, perhaps an effort across party lines to have a solution in place? How to tackle this menace that we face each year after year? It continues to get worse.
First of all, I would like to say that I empathize with all the callers. It is not that we are inhuman. We really empathize with all the callers who have just spoken about it. And putting a blame on BJP because our anchor is only talking about BJP governments. Right
because
now
you're the elected government, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Because you're the elected government. We're talking about Gurugram right now. We are talking about Gurugram. Why? I asked you a policy question. All you do is shout. All you do is personal attack. All you do is political blame game. Why don't you talk about policy?
Various redevelopment projects, out of which rupees 800 crore will be spent on Hero on the job very soon. This is what we are telling you. And we also tell you that Najafgarh drain, which is coming from Delhi government, has to decongestize it because it is during a peak rainfall. This causes a lot of water solution, lot of water logging.
All right, I'm short of time. Anuja, I'm very sorry I have to interrupt you there. I thank all my guests for joining us on the broadcast. It's unfortunate that we're not able to get long-term policy solutions from our politicians. With that, it's a wrap from my side. Shivani Gupta takes it forward.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. A day after an unprecedented crackdown on the Popular Front of India, the radical outfit and its supporters came out with what they know best: stone pelting and destruction. If your very genesis is violence, hatred and terror, it's not very surprising that its frustrated cadre spilled onto the streets, especially in Kerala today, their base for a long time, and attacked public and private property. They even tried to force or strike down the throats of ordinary citizens as if they should care because of a crackdown on the PFI. Is this response by the PFI not a giveaway of its mindset? Are they trying to challenge the Indian agencies, the Indian state, by trying to intimidate citizens and the state machinery because of a crackdown? And are they emboldened because for far too long, politically and socially, such actions have been justified and even encouraged? We will take those questions to our guests in just a bit.